Welcome to the mix, it's Gen-XYZ, we're X to Z, we blend, dissect society. No topics out of bounds, 3 generations deep, we're breaking new ground.
Okay, welcome to Gen-XYZ, first podcast with all generation hosts are in our 50s, our 40s, our 30s, and our 20s. I am Greg Brown, age 54, sitting to my right.
I'm Jordan Brown, his daughter. I'm age 23.
And I am Asya McLean, age 32. Wow. And
Yeah.
to my right is my wonderful husband.
Yeah, and this is my wife, and I am her husband. My name is DJ McLean, and I am age 44.
44, so I'm the oldest in this group. Dang. So I have all the wisdom and knowledge.
Supposedly.
Tell yourself whatever you want to.
Tonight's really exciting because I've been researching all over podcasts, and I have not found a 4-generation difference of a podcast where each of those generations share their thoughts, their experiences that they're currently in their lives. And I think this format is going to be really valuable from anyone from age 15 all the way up to age 60. And we're glad you're here. We really want this to be a very informative podcast. We want to be able to have our callers or our listeners write into us, ask questions, things that are on their mind that they'd like help with based on all of these generations of experience. I'm sure there's something we could help you with for sure. And starting tonight, what we want to do is talk to each generation about right now the greatest issues that are affecting your age group and your peers. And so why don't you start with the 30-year-olds, Asya, of what you think the greatest issues are that you recognize in your peer group?
I'm 32. The funny thing about me living in America now is that my peer groups are younger and older than me. I don't really know anyone over here that's 30 or in their 30s, actually. Me personally is a little more, or I would say a little deeper than the outside world. Obviously, social media is always on your mind. When I watch my friends in Germany, what they do, what they present, sometimes you get FOMO because obviously it looks amazing. They all get together every weekend, kind of out of their party time, but just getting together to talk, to do little trips.
So you're kind of homesick, it sounds like.
Yeah, I guess that's my biggest problem, if you will, though.
Yeah.
I see a lot from my younger friends that do have similar, situations going on when it comes to social media and just what should I be doing with my life right now? Because everyone I see out there, it looks like they have their shit together. Pardon my French, but it comes down to that.
Comparing to what they're doing, thinking there's something that you're supposed to be doing more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And even maybe me personally, since I had to change my career I studied architecture, so that was my pathway. Obviously, spent a lot of time, money, just, blood, sweat, and tears in that. And when I came over here, that fell back to zero more or less because it's so different. Obviously, all code, even architecture at its core is so different compared to Germany. So I'm trying to figure out what do I do with my life now? Where am I here? I guess now comes to mind probably kids is an issue. Not so much with my peer groups because they're all not really, antsy to have kids quite yet. We all think about it, but we all also look at each other. It's like, okay, who's going to start?
Right.
So,
do you want kids?
In general, yes.
Yeah.
But obviously uncertainty, even what's going on in politics, it's a big issue on pulling the trigger for me personally. And I feel like my friends do.
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like Jordan could take this over since you are kind of the younger version. And
like 10 years younger.
Yeah.
No, I wrote comparison down too. Comparison's like a huge thing, but I think like I and my friends and just like my peer groups find ourselves comparing each other to like the people that we know or like the people we grew up with. Like, for instance, like there's a lot of people that, you know, have these like 9 to 5 jobs, and then there's a ton of people that are like doing steroids or like doing drugs still, and then there's a lot like, and then there's people that are still in school, and like I think just right now, like everyone that I know, like we're all at such different points of our lives right now, and like no one really knows like what the next step is, and that makes it hard to like lean on each other kind of sometimes, because, you know, all growing up and through college and everything, like we're all kind of at the same point. And then once you get out of college, like everyone just goes all these different ways, and things happen and circumstances happen. And it's like we're all just kind of like treading water is what it feels like right now. And yeah, just like not really having an idea of like what's right and wrong, like because everyone is in such a different place that it's hard to gauge like, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Like
A little bit of trial and error.
yeah, and just like building the confidence of like, who cares what this person's doing? Like I'm gonna do this. Like that's still such like a social thing of like, okay, am I in line with everyone right now? Like am I going at the same rate as everyone else? Like, or are they better than me? Are they smarter than me? And yeah, it just causes like a lot of self-doubt and like a lot of like insecurity and stuff like that. And like I'm not the only one that like struggles with that. Like that's my age. Like a lot of my friends are dealing with that too right now.
Do you all talk about it?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
that at least gets it out to put
Oh, yeah.
yourself in perspective. It's like, okay, at least
Yeah.
it's not just me who is a little lost at the moment.
Yeah.
It's everyone. And can you help each other out? Can
Yeah.
you be like,
Yeah, no, definitely. Like it's really funny because I think that we're all kind of at a point where we're trying not to admit that there's like this
Yes.
issue. Like my friends from Montana, we all got together a couple months ago, and all of a sudden like one of my girlfriends just starts bawling, and we're like, what's going on? You know, and she's just like telling us about like just the struggle she's having, and we thought everything was fine, you know, like you're seeing social media, you're like texting, you think everything's fine, and then all of a sudden 5 of us are like, I'm actually feeling the same way, like, you know, so just it is comforting to know like we're all dealing with it. But I think there's this like pride thing, and I think that there's like almost like an embarrassment component, because like I'm 23, I'm out of college, like I feel old, you know, and I feel like I need to have my shit together. But
well, who measures this?
well, exactly. And
Right.
that's what I mean about the confidence thing is like we're all working to that, you know? And I also don't really think that like you ever get to that point where you're completely just like, I don't care what anyone else thinks, like blah, blah, blah. Like there's such, no matter what, like society is going to influence like
Yeah.
everything, you
Hey,
know?
maybe Greg and DJ can just evaluate on that, because clearly you should have your shit together, so to say. Like,
Yeah, it took till 2015 for me. So that was 9 years ago. So I would have been 30. I would have been 45. And when I was 45, at your age, is when I finally had to say, okay, this is insane in this hamster wheel of not knowing why I keep doing the same things over and over again. And I don't feel there's a lot of direction. I don't feel very confident in what I'm doing with my own business. And so I enrolled in a mastermind course. It was 90 days long. There was only 6 of us from around the world in this, and it was very expensive. And it was the best thing at that time I ever did. This is what it taught us about the comparison. There's only one you in the whole universe, just you. No one else has your fingerprint. No one else can ever be you. So you only worry about you. And there's no comparison. There's always going to be someone more rich, someone more poor, someone that has more happiness, someone that has less. So once you turn your mind shift to I'm done comparing to anyone and focusing only on what my gifts are, and then pushing those gifts, then everything gets a lot easier. Still hard with just life, but your head is now clear. And so I minimized. I laid off 9 employees, full-time employees. That was too much stress for me because I was always worried about if I don't have enough work for them, how do they feel about me? Again, comparison. And I had to get rid of that because the stress that was causing to take care of them and their families was too overwhelming while I wait for permits and clients to do their thing. So I would still be paying employees, but without any income coming in. And that was just too stressful. So I went to just me subbing out all my work. And then the most important thing was just doing 2 things a day towards my career. Just 2. And in a week, I could get done with 10 different things. That helped me not procrastinate, helped me get things done, and I wasn't overwhelmed anymore. If I knew I just had to do 2 things, I should take that back. Not 2 little things like go empty the garbage and do the dishes, but maybe I made 20 phone calls is one of my items that I had to do to schedule subs coming up. And then the other thing was to write out 4 checks to vendors and get them mailed. That would have been 2 items. And in 1 week, I accomplished more by doing 2 things a day than I ever did in all the years before, getting overwhelmed by how many things are out in front of me that get you to now procrastinate because you're too overwhelmed with it. DJ, what about you?
I feel like you can maybe relate to that. Just our past 5 years in the business and how you always worry so much about others, but at the same time, most of them wouldn't deliver, but you still feel responsible for their income and whatever. They've just bought a brand new truck.
Yes.
It's not.
And they have kids to feed.
And that, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so much to say. Can we zoom in on one little piece of this? Because I think I could talk ad nauseum in every single direction, from like emotions to life direction to choices to comparing yourself to your friends to, may I back up for a second? While you guys were speaking, it made me wonder if you guys have friends in your group that are the people that you all kind of look at as wanting to emulate and be more like. Are there any leaders, or is everyone just kind of wandering around in a group?
Yeah.
And everyone kind of keeps to themselves, so you don't really understand that everyone else is going through potentially the same issues as you are? Or so you're saying there are no leaders, or?
I mean, even if you compare yourself to your friends and you may have the 1 or 2 that have their stuff together, at the same time, if I reflect on me, it's not the path I want to go. So there is not really a blueprint, like a perfect scenario for me that someone is also living that I can maybe copy or try to do a little more like this. It's all pick and choose. Like, okay, they have their living situation together, or they have kids, and how they do parenting maybe be one thing you could look up to later on. But in full extent, like the complete package, I do not see someone that I try to be necessarily. So yeah, it's still all wishy-washy in that regard.
Well, that's great though, because that means that's individuality that you have.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. Like, I don't think I have like
that's
healthy,
a positive.
I think it's also like I have like healthy friend groups and like healthy relationships where it's not like everyone is, like following the herd or hive mind or anything like that. Like, I think that we're all just at that age right now where we're just don't know what our next step is. And, that's my thought.
DJ?
So I guess the way I kind of look at life is I kind of rewind to the beginning. I remember exiting high school and getting shot into college, and you feel like you kind of get shot into the unknown a little bit. But then you get into college, and that's its own thing to get used to. And as you go through college, your classes get harder, but you get better at them, right? There's a system there. There's structure to work within. And so by the end of it, you kind of feel more like a professional at college a little bit, right? But then you get shot out of college into the world. And I remember that felt like getting shot out of a cannon just into the sky, where it's just you could choose any direction you want to, right? But I was fortunate that, since I was very young, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. So I just basically started on the path. I want to be a business owner and, an engineer and build products and companies and things like that. So in your 20s, there's a lot of experimentation, right? You kind of dip into a few different worlds, and I think the faster that you can figure out what direction to go in, the better, because the other thing I learned from my dad actually is that time is your biggest resource that we have here, right? And so after that point, let's see, for me, I worked for Fortune 500 companies and just tried to get a lot of job experience because I wanted to see the structure of work and use that to build my own businesses later, right? So that I wouldn't have to do as much guessing. So I tried to always work at places that I could kind of not steal, but piggyback on their knowledge. I always looked at all their paperwork, their forms, things like that, and kept them. And so I could emulate them later and kind of shortcut a little bit. And then starting different companies, you get kind of a little bit better at life, or at least you think you do, and you're a little more emotionally sound by the time maybe you're 30. But then at that point, through your 30s, I just remember you're still kind of honing in on exactly what you're doing and trying to get traction in what you're doing, and you're just attempting to be successful, whatever that means. And you go a little too far in every direction, but the key to that is that after you go too far there and you plant your face against the wall, at least you know where that barrier is, right? But then into your 40s, if I look at my friend group, they all have kids that are getting a little bit older now. They're all well established in their jobs. But I also see something that is very common with that group is that they're really bored.
Yeah.
Because now they've been working at this company for, 15, 20 years, and they get paid enough that they really want to stay in that job, and they have all the benefits for the family I was mentioning. So now they kind of they feel like they're locked into train tracks where they have no mechanism to accelerate or actually grow or break free, because now they've also bought enough stuff that they need that level of paycheck to support that
To
stuff.
sustain the lifestyle, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I see a lot of people that, at least from my point of view, seem frustrated being locked on those tracks. So,
But does that have to do with, because you kind of pinpointed more the business career aspect of life. If we look at life at the whole, we have friendship, hobbies, family, and obviously career and whatever else could be attached to that too. So sometimes I feel the people in their 40s that maybe have their career figured out, they might have made a mistake or went a funny situation when it comes to hobbies. All of that got neglected. Maybe the relationship they were in, maybe that part was just tagging along, and now that career's figured out, maybe relationship kind of points in a little frustration as well, because it literally all leans on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thought I had a second ago. I do not know a single person that has, let me just say, these 5 examples: hobbies, family, relationship, career, and, well, okay, let's say 4.
maybe emotional stability or
That
something
have
like that.
all
Yeah,
those
well-being.
together, right? And that's interesting if you look at social media.
Yeah.
A lot of things represent just one part. It's just their relationship, or maybe just their hobby.
Or maybe just having fun.
Yeah.
Which
That life's supposed to just be fun.
I actually think it can be. Like,
It can.
no, I think that, like, just hearing you, like, talk and stuff, like, I'm so different from you. Like, I knew, like, from a young age, like, I just know that I like people and I want to take care of people. And I just, like, have always felt that my entire life. So, like, for me, like, being in a position of, going into college and just being like, okay, what job fits that description? Like, what job fits empathy? And it's like, okay, counselor, like healthcare, whatever, like all these things. So I started going that path and I started taking those classes and then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to change my major. I'm going to do business. And then I was like, I don't like this at all. Like, and then I started doing yoga and I ended up dropping out of school and I was like, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. Now I'm at a point, couple years after getting my certificate where I'm now not teaching yoga because I am now like losing my passion. And it's like, I don't know, like, I just think that it's so like there's so many more factors than just looking at like what am I interested in? Like how am I going to get there? Like you have to think about like financially, is it going to support me? Like where am I going to live? Like, you know, like what kind of life do I want? And like I know that the people around me and like my friends and just like the people in my age group, like our main discussion when it comes to being like, what's your goals? Like, what are these things? Like the biggest factors that come into play is like our happiness and our well-being, like 100% of the time. Like there is not a person that's like, I want to work at this company for 45 years because I'm going to get a great social security and like I'm going to get a great retirement. Like everyone is like, how do I set up my life like where I am happy and like I can travel, like I can be with my friends, like I can do the things that I enjoy. And I think like that makes me grateful for like being in my generation and I think that like that gets turned on its head a lot of like older people thinking that we don't understand the value of work, but I think it's we're understanding like the value of life, and I think that that is what is like pushing people, I don't know, in all these like different directions. Like social media is now a job, you know, like, and that's cool. Like, you know, people travel around and they take videos for other people and it's great and it's sick, but it's like, yeah, I don't know. That's my big point out of that, I think, in like career.
Yeah, and that it makes sense. All of us would love, not just your generation, we all would have loved to just be able to just enjoy life and have life and travel when we want and go places and do all that. All of us would want to do that. A lot of times, though, the reality is the happiness comes from accomplishing the hard stuff, that then you're rewarded with those things. And so if you do a YouTube video, like a lot of these people, or you're an influencer or whatever, like you're talking about with social media, these people go around, but they've had no life experience yet. None. Very, very, very little, especially the young ones that are doing this. And from what I've watched, the part of your happiness has to come from pain, going through a lot of pain in order to understand joy, and vice versa. You can't just have joy without have experienced pain, because you wouldn't know the difference of it. And so it would be fantastic if you could just have all that stuff and be happy. And if you can find something that allows that, like you love to travel, let's say, maybe that's what you do. You have a video blog that you do that shows each destination you go to, and you show people what the best places are there. And I see these all the time on YouTube. You probably guys see them on TikTok and your Instagram. But in order to do that, you have to have an income coming from that source, which means that's all you're doing all the time. So you also don't have stability. And stability is a human condition that we all need. We need something stable that keeps us grounded. Very few people can just travel all the time before they would go insane and not be able to do it. They have to have a landing place, a home, something that is stable. Yeah. In my experience.
DJ and I literally watched a video about a guy who was traveling as an influencer for how many years? 5 or longer, who then said, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I miss exactly what you said, Greg. I miss that home base. I miss to come to the spot, the stability. And
yes.
So it's interesting. It's definitely verified. And it was refreshing to see that someone who gets out of that line of work, let me just call it that, who then talks about the downsides.
Yeah, but I agree with Jordan. Like Jordan went away to Maui and got her yoga certification. And we talked about it, and she said, Dad, I just really don't like school, but I want to do this. And I was like, of course, go get your certification. And then she was on this new path. And it was great. And what happens is, if she doesn't have some other outside source motivating her daily in that, you will lose interest in it.
I have severe ADHD.
It's very hard. It's very hard for entrepreneurs like us to self-motivate. It's the hardest thing to do. When you are employed by someone you know that you work from 9 o'clock in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. You have a schedule set for you. As an entrepreneur, self-employed business owner, we do not.
Yeah.
Each day we make up our schedule. Now, there's things that are there that we have to take care of that are part of our business. But every day we wake up, we're unemployed until we make money. Every day. And that's a big stress. And so for young kids who see all these adults looking unhappy, that they're just working in this job that they don't like, what the key is do the thing that's really hard, and sometimes you won't like it, but use that to go do the things that do bring you happiness. And then that's just your tool to your happiness.
So you need direction, obviously, in order to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the young kids, I would love to help a lot of them figure out their purpose and their passion, and then get them pointed towards that passion. And how do we turn their head towards that and get them involved in things that will help them that way? I think a lot of it too, the way we are, especially in this country and especially in this city, is everyone's out for themselves. There's not a lot of people just there to help you when you fall. You really feel a lot of times really isolated, and you're just on your own to figure this out because everyone else is in the same boat trying to figure it out. They don't have time to help you figure it out too, right? So I think the key is getting people to understand you don't compare to anyone. Find out what it is that is really unique about you, and then start doing things towards that while you're going through the hardship and the pain of working to make the money in order to do those things.
And so is that assuming that your direction and your passion is not your source of income? Can you split them?
100%.
Or do you want to put them together?
100%. Let's say Jordan loves yoga, okay?
Wait, can I speak on my own experience?
Yeah.
Because yes, I love yoga, but like I also am like working at a restaurant because yoga does not financially like support me right now. And like I'm in a situation where like my partner is like traveling for work and like doing all these things. So like I am like dealing with stuff at home right now, like while he's able to do that. And then, you know, one day it will reverse. But like I understand like, you know, you have to sacrifice and whatever. Like I'm working a service industry job. Like I'm sacrificing, you know, like I'm sacrificing my mental stability, like to be able, like I went to Australia 3 weeks ago, you know, and I was there for 2 weeks, and Australia's been a place that I've wanted to go to forever. And I dog watched and I worked and I saved up money in a jar, like, you know, and I was able to go accomplish that. And like, I think that's kind of like what I'm getting at is like, I see a lot of my friends like doing the same exact thing I'm doing is like, we make money and we save money and we pay our bills and, you know, and we check all the boxes, but we also like need to make sure that like while we're young and we're able, like we're traveling and we're doing the things that we want to do, because I think a lot of times like we look at our parents and we look at our grandparents and, you know, and they're like, I didn't start traveling until I was 50 and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, we have no responsibilities right now. Like most of us, like we don't have kids, we're not married, like all this stuff that there is like, especially with my friend group and like my peer group, like there is this mentality of like, you kind of got to like seize that right now, because one day we will be in that position, like where we're having our 9-to-5 jobs or we're having our kids and mortgages and all this crap. And it's like, I'm trying to have fun right now. And like, I'm trying to get life experience through that. And I think like I am, honestly, like, and I'm meeting a lot of different people. And, you know, I've lived in Montana, I've lived here, I've lived in Hawaii, like, and I'm 23, you know, and I don't know where I'm going to live in a year. So it's like, yeah.
Better not live far away.
Well, you know, all of this reminds me of a quote that I'm about ready to butcher, and I'm sorry, I don't know who to give it credit to.
Anonymous.
But it's back to
Don't butcher it.
It's back to that if you're driving to New York at night,
Okay.
the only thing you really need to know is where New York is, what direction, And you can only see as far as the headlights project in front of your car. You do not need the entire plan, but
Yeah.
you need that compass heading, right? Otherwise, you don't want to waste a lot of time doing this unless there's some other value that probably actually comes out of that. Hitting the walls and finding your boundaries and your discomforts and your likes. But yeah, you just need to see just that 30 feet in front of you, and guess what? You can drive thousands of miles.
Yeah.
So then what would be a way, Jordan, that you would suggest to people in your generation, the Gen Zs, that to do kind of what you did, where you guys do extra things, like you guys did a lot of dog sitting, dog
I had
watching.
3 jobs at one point. Like,
And then
yeah.
would you suggest to them to like save up and then go do a quick travel thing with one of their friends or themselves, or like how do they
Yeah.
set that aside to go do that while they're trying to work at the same time?
Okay, so I have a friend who is a full-time ICU nurse. Like that is that's a career job that a lot of people have. She travels constantly on every single like day that she has off. Like she's in Mexico, she's in Canada, she went to like Costa Rica, like, and I think it's just about like making the most of like your off time. And obviously like that's such a, it's not going to be the case for everyone. Like there's different responsibilities, but I think that like for my age group and stuff like that, I think about like direction and stuff like that because I'm dealing with that right now. And it's all about just evaluating like what matters to you and like because honestly, I wrote it down too. Like we have to think so much about like financial, like living in Seattle too. Like I'm constantly thinking about money. I don't want to be, but like I'm constantly thinking about it. And like that is such a big deal because I don't want to like be working for 40 years and then see the payout. Like I find busting my ass and working 3 jobs if I get to go to Australia. Like that's the pro and the con there. Like I don't want to wait. But that's me personally. Like I know a lot of people that are fine.
Right.
So it's also because you're doing it for a reason. You have
Yeah.
a goal and you have a finite goal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now put that goal at the age of 80, and then how would you feel about working in the same way?
No, I'd hate it. I hate my life.
Right. So there's something to
Yeah.
do with time there.
Well, it's 100%. Like
But why can't
I'm
you
young.
compare that? So you're saving, you're working 3 jobs, but you want to be able to go do all these things and you don't like thinking about the finance because it's stressful. Compare it to before we had an income and money. That's the same exact thing that happened sitting in a cave
well, yeah, it's
where
instinctual.
people would say, I have to go out and find food or we're not going to survive through the next 2
Yeah.
days. That stress is the same as trying to make money to pay your bills
Yeah.
and to live. So it's never changed through evolution. It's never changed. We still are set and designed as humanity to work. It's how we're programmed.
We're designed to get ulcers, is what you're saying.
We're designed to get gray
We're
hair and
designed to
wrinkles.
create, to innovate, to work, and to keep going forward. However you do it is your own journey. I'll never tell Jordan she has to do this. I didn't ever do that. If she went to school, I took care of school. If she wanted to do something else, I'll help her do that. No matter what, there was never anything where I said, no, you have to do this, then you're going to get a degree and you're going to become a doctor and you're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. I don't agree with that because I've met a lot of different cultures, a lot of different friends who got put into that, and they are miserable because they did what their father wanted them to do, especially those from like India. They all have to follow. The females have to listen to what their dad wants them to do. Become a lawyer, a doctor, it's something, biotech. And that was hard on them, super hard. And then they're not happy. And so if you gotta, who's the one that said about work to pay your bills and the money that comes from that is what you spend to do your hobbies?
Yeah. Well, I think that we're all kind of getting at the same point of like well-being and happiness. Like it all kind of keeps coming back to that of like, how are you setting yourself up to be happy?
And working hard, to me, you guys, that's what makes me happy.
Yeah, not me.
When I'm accomplishing things, when I'm working hard and I get something done and I finish a home, I'm happy that I just did all that. And I don't think about the hard days and stuff that it was. And I still had balance. I still go golfing. I still go do things. I ended up watching her dog all day yesterday on a regular work day. I was in charge of puppy duty. So it's not like I just go work, work, work. It's not like that. But if I don't do it, this doesn't exist right here either.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not able to do this, right?
Well, I think also like, I know we're kind of hogging, sorry, but I think also like what you're saying, like that is like where your drive comes from, is like accomplishing like something, and like mine comes from like I want to help people, and like that's like where I feel accomplished, like after I teach a yoga class, or you know, someone comes up to me and they're like, that was amazing and blah blah blah, you know, or I made a really good connection with someone at work. Like that's where I get like my ambition, and like that's where I get my drive. And it's just like interesting because I, you know, could give a shit about like going to work and finishing my job. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able, like what motivates me, and like obviously I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to work because I need money and I need to pay my bills, but like personally, like what motivates me is like connecting with people and helping people and all that. So I think that like sometimes I just struggle because I'm like, what the hell do I do? You know, like.
Yeah, my whole motivation wasn't to go to work, so I was happy at the end. It was because I had to raise kids.
Yeah.
And that was great. That was my motivation. I got to go work to take care of these guys because they can't take care of themselves, right? They're too young. I have to support and take care of them. So you grind. But I didn't look at it as, oh, well, my life's over. Can't go to Australia now and hang out at a beach. It wasn't like that at all. I still have a thing inside my head that you've heard my goal that I'm going to all 7 continents. I think I've told you that before. That's one of my big bucket lists. I'm going to St. Andrews in Scotland to play the old course, okay, from the 1700s. I am going to touch my foot on all 7 continents. I've been to maybe 2 continents out of the 7. So I'm going to do that. And all of that is going to come when I've got myself set with enough to go do that without any other distraction, so I can really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not old. I could do this in the next 5 years is my goal before I'm 60, and I'll be traveling, and it's my goal, and I want to, and I'm going to do it because I've set those long-term goals by doing short goals. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't mind the hard work in order to have fun, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I guess sometimes people just have the problem to find the end goal.
Yeah.
Like how
Like when
long,
is enough enough?
Yes.
Yeah.
How long do I want to do this? Because you do have to set boundaries for yourself. It's the same with kids. Like, okay, I can work, try to build a nest, but at some point, I mean, there is a deadline by nature.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do if you're over that?
All
And
right.
same kind of with the how long do I work to then go travel and do my bucket list items? What if I get sick? So there's always a little, a gray cloud hanging over it. Yes, it's good if you have a plan. That's a starting point for everyone. They should just make a plan, work towards it. And if they see, okay, everyone around me gets sick, maybe, okay, I cut it a little short. I get a little more creative to still accomplish it and still reach my overall goal. But yeah, there's so many factors, and then a little scared. And
In
then
life.
you take,
Jordan had her bones, a horrible double compound fracture come out her ankle just a couple years ago. Well, that puts all kinds of things in what's happened in my own life, because now I'm going out there to help and take care of her and make sure she's okay. We never know what life throws at us.
Yeah.
So you have to maneuver and adjust. But I think all of us have it in us to create at least something. Jordan wants to help people. I mean, she in church in Sunday school was in charge of infant to 2-year-olds. That was her job in Sunday school. And that's what she did when she was in high school. So most
cute.
older people want to deal with infants and to 2-year-olds, not teenagers.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I want to be with the junior high kids or the elementary kids. She chose infant to 2-year-olds. So she is a caretaker. I've always told her she's going to be an amazing mom. Like the best mom, like for real.
Why did you cry?
No pressure.
Aw.
No, I know that with all my heart because I watch her with little kids, and it is her thing. So why not be a preschool teacher, right? If you love those little kids so much and you're around them all day, that is where your joy comes from.
Yeah.
And then the money you get from that is how you can go do all those other things. But now you've got the best of both worlds there. Yeah, are you going to be rich off a preschool teacher? No. Can you go to Hawaii once in a year? Yes, right? You can save for that and do it. So there is ways to go to your passion and then still go do things that a normal job maybe wouldn't allow you to do. A school teacher means she's off every summer.
And holidays.
Yeah, and she's still being paid. So there you go. You're taking that money now instead of using it while you're still at home during the school year. That money now applies to wherever else you're going to be when you're traveling. So I think there's ways to make it work for sure and still find your happiness and not worry about what everyone else is doing and not care that you have a Ferrari one day in a huge mansion. It's irrelevant. It does not matter. It's you being happy. However you get to that happiness. And everyone's different.
You know, there are so many tips and tricks, though, that you're never taught in school. You know, for instance, when I was in high school, I had a Mustang GT, right? And I knew that I'm going to go work somewhere so I can buy parts for this Mustang GT. So
Please don't tell me it was a 67 Shelby.
No, it was a 95 5.0.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay, thank you.
But
Illinois.
yeah, who has a $700,000 car? Yeah. But you know, at the end of the day, I decided to work at the local Ford dealer. I was the service drive attendant, you know, bagging and tagging the cars and parking them in the back lot for the actual skilled labor to go do, right? But the reason I worked there is because I got an employee discount. So I instantly knew that my salary may only be, it was $8 an hour, which I don't know how, that sounds so low
That's
these
still in
days.
Montana.
That's crazy. But then I had like a 30% discount. So when I added it all up between the jobs I could get, I realized that this gets me closer to my goal, you know, faster. And no one teaches you any of that kind of logic in school about, you know, just how to kind of cut corners in the game of
Well,
life,
you got to be
right?
savvy. Like, I remember in high school, I worked at a hair salon because I could get my hair done for free. Like, you know, I'm working at a
yeah.
restaurant because I can have dinner
For
like for free.
Yes.
Like, you know, you got to be savvy. Like, yeah.
I guess I should work at a bank so I can have money for free.
There you go.
That's where I'm at right now. It's awesome. I'm in the vault every night.
Every night. just
Throwing all this money around.
counting
I
hundreds.
just
yeah.
love it. Yeah. And then I have to put it all back before I get arrested, but it's all good.
You know, they say that people, you know, back in the day, you used to get a job and you used to work there, and the longer you worked there, the more respect you would get, and you'd retire with your gold watch that they would give you, and that
And a
was just-
pension and a retirement.
right, and that was the way it worked. And now they say that modern kids, or I'm not sure where this comes from, but I think they said that you have up to 6 careers these days.
Probably, yeah.
And
Sounds
I
about
just find
right.
that very
Yeah.
interesting how we're not connected to the one path anymore.
I mean, it sounds like
Well,
the one
It's
path,
evolving.
but the one path seems to have taken better care of you back in the day than it would do right now.
Well, to speak on that, like my boyfriend's dad, he's worked at the same company for 30 years and they're pushing him out right now because he's trying to like learn all this new technology and all this stuff, you know, but like these younger kids are just getting it quicker. He's given his life to this company and they're pushing
Wow.
him out because of these younger kids. And it's like also at that point, like, you know, he grew up with that mentality of like, oh, I'm going to work in this job forever.
I'll be loyal.
Yeah. And then now what? They're saying a big F you. Like,
Yeah.
you gave your life to us.
Well,
Good luck. Like,
missing loyalty these days is a big factor and just why people are unhappy.
Yeah.
Even friends talk shit behind your back.
yeah.
People say one thing one day and then go 360 next time you meet him. There's like no stability, no, I don't know, loyalty. I forget the words, but
The human condition.
I think there's also not a lot of like face-to-face accountability either. Like no one is like talking about it. Like if someone's, at least, you know, being a girl and whatever, if someone's talking bad about another person and it gets back to that person, they're not being like, why don't you just talk to me one-on-one? You know, like there's not that ever, like it's just like trying to find the easy way to get through it all. And it's like,
and principle was the other word I was looking for. Just like, usually I have my principles. You know, there's certain things I generally would never do. If that maybe one day changes, I'll be like, hey, guys, you know, I think I changed my opinion on this. But these days, it's like people change their mind all the freaking time.
mm-hmm.
And I think
I
it's
don't know
because they don't
why.
have direction. They don't have direction. They're lost. A lot of people are just lost, and they don't know. They just don't. I see it every day. I'm around it every day. You see a guy that comes in, he's one of my subs, and he's like, I don't know if I can do this much longer. Like, well, what do you like to do? Well, man, I love working on my car in my shop at night. Well, then why aren't you working on cars? Like, if that's what you love, stop laying brick and go start working on cars. There's a million auto body places that would take you in a millisecond.
Do you think they're scared to start over? Because
I think they're scared that they'll
freshman.
That they'll fail.
Yeah.
Well,
That they're not going to make it. That they won't, because they love it so much. Something's got to be wrong. How could I love doing this so much in my garage? How could I make money at this? What if I fail? And then what? I got to go back to bricklaying again. So a lot of it is risk fear.
Yeah.
I'm scared to go do this because I may fail at this.
And missing
I agree.
support and encouragement. Like
Community.
A lot of people don't have a soft landing.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very.
And sometimes to not have the soft landing is your greatest motivator, that you either do or die. You go survive. You go make it. That sometimes is what it takes in order to go do it.
But what if you have kids?
No, then that's really, this is why it's so hard that when you have a child and you are the man or the breadwinner, I should say. Sorry, I don't mean man. You got to be careful here. If you're the breadwinner, whoever's staying with the child, or if both of you are working or whatever, you have a new responsibility that supersedes anything that you were wanting selfishly for yourself. It just has to go to the back burner. And that's okay. It's done very easily. There was no pushback on my part to go, what? I have kids now. Now I have to be serious with all this and make money so that they have food and Gerber baby food, mushed peas. What am I going to do to get all this money now? Diapers, right? So you just do it. You just do it. But I did it happily. It wasn't like I looked and went, oh my God, I can't do all the things I wanted to do. I went, wow, now look at all what I get to do. I got to coach their sports. I got to take them everywhere. We did experiences, go camping, go do things, go travel. Like they've been able to do all that stuff their whole lives. You know what I mean? So I think it just matters what you want to do. And if you know that if you're doing something that you love and you have passion for, money will eventually catch up to you. It'll show up for you.
but that's hard when you need money now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you fill your time doing something you don't like, and now you're stuck in it because you're good at it and you've gotten a raise a few times, and then you're kind of oddly prevented from doing what you actually planned on doing in the first place.
Yeah. No, but I think like growing up, like you always said that to me. You're like, do what you love and the money will follow. Like literally since I was a baby, like that's all he's just like drilled into me and my brother. And I think like that was like allowed me to feel comfortable dropping out of school and like making choices where I'm thinking about like my passion. I'm thinking about like my happiness first. And I'm like very thankful for that because I see a lot of people that, you know, like you were talking about earlier, that like the influence of family of just being like, do this, do this, do this. And then they're like, you know, 15 years into studying for something or, you know, on this path and then they're like, I don't like this, you know, like I like, yeah, like if you're being pushed in a certain direction and then all of a sudden you look back 10 years later and you're like, I never even liked doing this. Like
It's a very slippery slope.
Yeah.
And I actually met a friend in college who started studying this one topic and, you know, got his bachelor's and was pretty good. And he's like, well, okay, I'll do my master's. Got his master's, basically aced everything. Started doing his doctor's. He's like, and then, you know, by the end of his doctor's, he's like, what the heck did I do?
yeah.
Like, yeah, he's just like, I don't know. Am I supposed to do this? I mean, I'm good at it. Let's do this. But now even him, after 12 years, he's like, yeah, I might have lost. I may be lost. I'm in this maze. What do I do? Can I reset? Can I get a do-over? So it is a slippery slope. And I mean, my parents were, they did it pretty well, the way they approached things and kind of pushed me. I mean, I did college. Wasn't necessarily I wasn't looking forward to going to college, you know. I was like, okay, if there's something I want to study and it requires a college degree, I'm going to do it. But yeah, my mom was like, just do it. We'll pay for it. If you hate it, that's fine too. But just see what direction that will send you. And that was a very nice approach because I didn't only finish college. Before that, I finished an apprenticeship because I had to wait to get into college for the architecture studies. And so I did, you know, just in between 2.5 years, got my apprenticeship, another license for, yeah. But I went so many different paths. And I mean, on one hand, it was very good. On the other hand, it might have maybe been a little too much freedom where now I'm like, okay, should I try something else too? Do I focus on this now? So even then you can get a little lost. But I mean, it's just figuring it out and having a support team and having conversations about it and other opinions and maybe more adult people that can lead you and say, hey, I had the same problem, then I did this. And
mentorship is very important for younger kids, to be mentored by people that have been down the road already. What about you as an inventor? Like that has to drive your brain crazy that you're thinking of an idea, especially someone like with your brain that's very innovative and can dissect something and recreate it again. How is that for you to go, oh, am I supposed to be just doing this product now, or should I be doing this over here? I mean, that's got to be a toll on you.
Well, as we've discussed before, I don't know what it's like to not have my own brain. So, you know, I really only know one way of looking at things. But everything I look at, I can just visually disassemble it and reassemble it and just build it in my head and figure out all the manufacturing processes. And
it just blows my mind.
Bill of materials. But I think that's, like we said, you know, you're born with a direction a little bit, but then you can reinforce it with training. And so not only was I kind of born as that person, but then my dad is that person. So as around it, and then I went to school to be that person, and then I worked professionally as that, and then I started businesses doing that. So what, am I good at one thing? I'm fine with that, but I think that prevents me from really ever getting a real job ever again, just because I can't just sit at that desk and not look around and see, okay, that person's walking too much. That's the waste
point
of steps. Okay, we need to fix that.
Yeah, that's the point I'm getting to. The way your brain...
Squirrel. Yeah.
I mean, it excludes him from the normal workforce. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Everything else, sky's the limit. You know, he can start a new company,
Sky is the limit.
Product. But
that's a great description.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit for someone with his brain. It is. It really is.
That's terrifying.
And it is for a lot. It is for a lot of people. But you're very unique. You have a special gift.
Yeah.
We all have our own gifts, right? Yours just happens to be down the road of almost anything that your mind can create on some type of an invention or an idea or a new business.
I think it's just problem solving and optimizing it, and then turning and building a process to output whatever I want. You know.
But DJ, I know because it's your brain. Most of our brains
don't work like that.
We don't think like that.
But you must think in another way that's, you know, super cool in its own direction, right?
Yeah, I do. And it's usually about how I'm going to hold the golf club when I take it back and to make sure that my swing plane's right when I come back through. It isn't how to take apart this microphone right here and then resolder the wires in order to create a new sound within this. I wouldn't have the first idea. Yeah, I could take it apart, but then I would never remember again how it went back together.
Well,
So I'd have all the parts laying here, and then I would never make this mic look like this again.
See, but
You could.
Maybe.
Oh,
Not quite.
Okay.
Well, I'm not good at rebuilding things, not to cut you off, but I'm good at just piecing them together the way they should have been in the first place.
so this.
And that's a very arrogant thing to say. But anyhow, wife.
but I know one thing that DJ, for instance, is not very good at, and it's social situations.
Yes.
You cannot just, I mean, yes and no. If
That's
you
why we're
throw
doing
him-
this with him.
Yeah, but if you throw him in a room full of people, he will get along, but he is deeply uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Where I feel like us three,
Yeah, we're
Jordan, Greg, and myself, we can be wherever we want. It's rich, it's poor, it's gritty, it's nice. We know how to speak their language. We are comfortable. We're
Make it
not
happen.
scared, but that's a different skill, right? How to behave around people, how to not get shot, how to, be friendly. Why are people friendly to me? Obviously, it's that law of attraction and comfort. What's that? Being comfortable,
Yeah.
all of that. So,
But for DJ's mind, the way he is, he could easily be a 100% introvert, non-social, but he is really good at being social with people.
yeah.
Like very good.
he does what needs to be done, always. I think that's the bottom line.
So
he
what?
just-
So what are you saying? You're saying that he has a goal and a plan, even when he's in a social
Yes,
setting, that
always.
that he's only there to create a conversation, even though he's not into the conversation.
and
I
just
know
to
a
be clear,
ton of people like that.
The plan may be just to not look like an idiot.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't need to be
Yeah.
some
because you're
tactical
that
plan.
uncomfortable.
No, I don't think of myself that way.
I
all
never saw
because
you that
I've
way.
been at trade shows, selling into the aisle, cold calling. I went door to door as a kid,
Selling all your
chocolate
stuff
bars.
now.
You know,
But did you love doing that? I would love doing that. I love being in social situations. You're so and so. You do put yourself in social situations if that's what you have to do.
Because it's
Yeah.
a
to
necessity.
Get where you
You're
need
right.
to get.
I forced it
Well,
out.
do you look at
So-
it like from like an analytical point of view of like, okay, I'm in this social situation, let's say with like not your friends, but your friends. Like, okay, I need to get to know them. Like you're checking boxes almost like.
See, it's not even like
It's not
that
like that?
either. It's more like I look around the room and I see all the statistics over everyone's head, and I'm watching the patterns. That's a wallflower. That's not a wallflower. Why is that guy emptying the dishwasher while he's having a party? Like I'm.
And you see ghosts.
He's
Why
so-
do
I
you
don't
see,
know.
like, for me, like, why do you think you're like that? Like, for me, that's a survival skill because you're like overly observing who's safe, who's not safe, who's doing this. Like, you're in a survival sense in that.
See, overly observing compared to what? My brain has always been this way,
Right.
like I said.
Well, we
so,
tell
Well, compared
you.
to us,
Yes.
we're trying to tell you that
yes.
our brains aren't like that.
Okay, it's easy to identify the polarity between the two, but I mean, when do you know when you fall into a norm, right? And
No, I don't
I don't think there
any-
is.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is no
I don't
normal.
think there is.
There's a consensus that if out of 100 people, 70 people do this one thing, then that is normal. What about the other three? Are they abnormal then? No, it's just that a lot of people do this one thing. I would never consider it to be normal. Normal to me, a true normal, would be how you treat others and how you treat yourself. That should be across the board as normal. You're good to people and you're good to yourself. That could be a normal across all society. It won't ever happen, but that could be the only norm. Other than that, we're so different with the way we all think, the way we all have our brains wired, that I don't believe there is a normal. I think everyone's just unique.
It's way too complex. There are too
Yeah.
many factors and mixtures and energy levels
Yeah.
and traumas, and
Yeah.
it depends on if it's the middle of the summer, my energy doubles, and how do you reconcile all
Yeah,
that?
people
to make
don't think
sense
it's
of it?
normal that I go to Mercury's every single morning
Which
after
is
I've
a
gotten out of
coffee
this.
stand, by the way.
Yeah,
Tall
it's-
Americano with a half-inch of cold non-fat started.
There you go. So I go get this thing every day, even though I have an espresso at home. But there's just something about going there, seeing them, saying hello to people. First thing in the morning, I'm already interacting socially with other people. I get my coffee, I go back and I play Wordscapes for about 25 minutes to keep my brain active with words that I'm figuring out, to wake myself up. And then I get on the computer, I check my day before emails, figure out what I'm doing, and then we go about our day. That's not normal. That's not normal, right? I probably am 1 out of 10 that does that. Most people would get up, make a pot of coffee. To me, that's normal. In fact, my whole family, the joke is, where's Greg? Oh, he's on his way to go get a coffee while they're all pouring coffee out of the coffee pot.
But it's
right?
it's just routine. Like, it's just you've set something up to trigger your brain to be like, okay, my day's starting. Like, your day doesn't start until you go to the coffee shop. And that's just how we operate as humans. Like, we just have routines and we have things that make us feel comfortable.
Right.
And
so it's
feel
our
like,
normal.
It's just
Yeah.
person to person. Like,
I
Okay,
think it's,
on the spot.
Yeah.
On the spot, Jordan, one of your greatest joys, whether that's a job, friend, life, any experience, whatever it is, what is one of your greatest joys you've had in 23 years?
I think, like, belly laughing with, like, my friends is my euphoria. Is like when I'm with my people and we're like dying laughing. Like, I just love that feeling.
Yeah, or like when you and I see something at the same time and we can't stop laughing.
Yeah, I think laughing is one of my, I mean, it's so cliche, but it is. I think just that
It's
feeling
incredible.
of laughing is like one of my biggest. I just love it.
Okay, Ozia,
man, I don't want to copy that.
Do it.
one of your greatest joys.
Definitely laughing with friends, family, whoever. Making people laugh, almost more.
So making people laugh is one of your greatest joys.
I see myself a little bit as a comedian, and then if a friend is having a hard day and I can make a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you that way. You're funny. Yeah,
Thanks.
DJ, one of your greatest joys.
It's more of a category. It would be. Stop it! I can't turn it off.
That's fine. We're all
It
good
would
the way
love
we
you,
are.
dude.
It would be.
I love you.
Being recognized and accomplishing something that was told to me that maybe I shouldn't do or was actually more impossible. So
And then you did it.
yeah, that would be like, riding, racing in the Baja in Mexico, or, starting a business and then selling it to an idol of mine that I never thought I would even talk to in the first place. And they're sitting there congratulating me on doing a great job, so yeah.
Showing people the middle finger. It's like, I did it anyway.
It's awesome.
I wrote a challenge and then actually completing it.
Yeah, because then the completion is where it's really fun, because that's when you can just relax and shed all that stress and just kind of, it's a lot like building a house, right, Greg? It's you show up to an empty plat of land and it's just dirt. It's raining that day and the other guy didn't show up or whatever's happening there. But, on the day that you sell it and it's a nice spring day and that family's walking in with their kids.
Yeah.
And the kids are excited running around their new rooms.
Yeah.
And it's that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I wish that was that way for me, that would be one of my greatest joys. My greatest joy is when I watch my kids be happy. When they're having a good, when they're sad, it's brutal for me. It's the hardest thing in my whole life. So one of my greatest joys is knowing that I get to be around them and we talk and they ask me for stuff and advice or help with their lives. That's my greatest joy.
So what was it before you had kids, though? Just in the strictly all about me, me, me?
It was all about me, me, me. My greatest joy then would have been probably scoring goals, playing soccer.
I think yours would have been making people laugh.
Or
too.
making people laugh. Yeah.
You guys are all a bunch of laughers.
Yeah.
You're just comedians.
Well, that's who
over
you attract, or comedians. Okay.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Apparently.
here. Yeah. Extroverted comedians.
So tonight's topic, we've gone quite a ways already, but this was when facing difficult times, what to do. I think we covered a lot of that already without even starting with that topic.
Yeah.
Just in what we've all discussed so far. So I think we've done a good
I
job
want to say something.
with that. Go ahead.
I cry. When things are tough, I cry. Like,
That's how you flush
that's
out.
my first big thing is I cry. And then I clear my mind.
And were you taught to cry like that?
Yeah. I think my dad cried a lot growing up, like was never, never shied away from like showing emotion. My mom never did either. Like no one really in my family shied away from crying. And there was like a healthy relationship around it. Thank God. But yeah, I like cry for sure. That's a big one.
And the crying, just so other listeners know and people, is crying actually releases the nervous system and flushes out whatever the struggles are and feelings that are in you in that moment. If you don't cry and you leave it in, this is what we've learned even through professionals, you will one day bottle up all of that and explode. And most people call it a nervous breakdown. Others call
midlife crisis.
Well,
Yeah.
it turns into anxiety. It turns into
really bad stuff.
It turns into back pain.
Yeah.
Like it turns into it manifests
Yeah.
in so many different ways. But
So I can tell when her lip starts to shiver, or I'm talking to her on the phone, and she starts to go, "Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay." And I go, "Honey, you need to cry," and she'll just start crying right then while we're on the phone. I'm like, "Good,
Yeah.
just keep crying," because she has a habit, kind of like me, of holding stuff in. But then when you remind her, "Hey, you gotta let it out again," then she's like, "Oh yeah, duh, I gotta cry."
yeah, I think my thing is I'm like, okay, I gotta get stuff done, and I gotta just do it. Like I gotta do it on my own, And I think I fall to that a lot of like I just have to do it on my own. But
and then
even if
overwhelmed.
I can feel when I need to cry or I need to release, like I'll put on a sad movie or I'll watch, like videos on TikTok that make me cry because
so
I'm like, I need
interesting.
to cry. Like I can feel it in my body where I'm like,
have to release.
I need to release this.
But
Yeah.
that's so interesting because I can just not hold it back. My body, whenever it has to happen, all floodgates are open.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's happy cry, sad cry.
Standing in
Pressure.
a Safeway grocery line.
Yeah.
Even right
Listen.
now, right? Your voice is a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
shaky.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah,
the
because you
shaky
need
is
to.
Yeah.
And when we allow others, when you tell others, "Hey, when's the last time you cried?" Like a lot of my guy friends, they'll be saying, "Oh," and I can see their anger, right? And I'll go, "Whoa, hey, when's the last time you cried?" They're like, "What?" And I'm
I
like,
don't cry.
"When have you cried? Your anger right now is you're letting all this stuff that's bothering you and making you sad inside. You've never been given a tool to let it out. When you get a tool to let that out and flush it, you become clear again quickly, and you feel okay again. You don't feel as overwhelmed."
But here's the thing, because there is the complete opposite end of that too. See, it's the emotions. It's empathy. If you're overly empathetic,
Yeah,
that's a problem too.
yeah, yeah. But
I agree.
here's what I had 5 years with this one counselor, and this is what he taught me. He said, "Greg, you were born as an empath. You see the pain in everyone around you, and you feel that pain deeply. That is a beautiful gift that you were given, but here's the consequence. You will never be able to get rid of that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you need
Yeah.
to embrace that is okay, that you're going to feel horrible and pain and probably cry a lot through your whole life, but that is the consequence to the gift that you're able to feel what others are and help them with that."
Well, it can be really paralyzing. Like I know when I'm just, because I feel like I like have a lot of empathy and empathetic and stuff like that. And like when it's not just coming from me, like when it's not just my pain or like my stress, like it's, I'm out of it for a couple days. Like I'm not just releasing my stuff. Like I'm releasing whatever else I put on, from other people. And
Carried emotion.
yeah, which I don't regret. You know what I mean? Like I think that there's like a lot of like, oh, like don't, carry other people's baggage, but I think it makes me who I am. And it's like, it makes me be able to actually come from a place of like loving someone, like and genuinely like caring about what they're going through and not just being like, oh, I'm really sorry. Like, no, like I'm here with you, we're feeling it. And like, yeah, it sucks, and it's paralyzing and it's like energetically draining, but
Yeah.
at the end of it, I'm like, at least that person knows I love them, you know, like, so.
And the funny part is it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
You got it for the rest
That's why I'm
of your
scared to
life.
have kids.
No, that's why you need to.
I'm gonna be like, oh my God.
No, that's why you need to, because you'll be great. And you should
First
be
day of
and
school.
you should be
Oh,
a
I'm
mom.
gonna be a mess.
And she should be a preschool teacher. I would die watching her with all these little kids. They would be in heaven.
I can't. I would laugh the whole time, and I
That's-
would be like, "Yeah, say the F word."
Hey, DJ, just
Yeah.
another generational question. Have you ever seen your parents cry?
Yeah.
My dad one time during a really stressful lawsuit. My mom, a few times when I told her that this Christmas morning sucks. She said I tried so hard, and
Oh,
that,
God. Wait,
that
how'd you
made-
feel?
Oh, terrible. I still feel bad about that. I learned something very powerful in that moment. You kind of thought my parents were invincible as a child. And when I saw my mom break down, and then I really looked around the room and realized what she put into it, like I still feel terrible about that.
Oh, well, forgive yourself. So you can
Do
move
you
on
cry?
with your life.
Do you cry?
Yeah. Usually
Yeah.
when I'm tired or something
Yeah.
absolutely appalling has happened.
I've seen you cry before.
Do you cry at like movies or TV or anything like that?
Yeah, and the part that usually gets me is
Yeah.
when there's like a team and they all accomplish something
Yeah.
together. That's what triggers me.
Really?
we do
like
that.
the A-team?
No,
No.
more
No, like an
a
underdog
football
type
team with
thing.
the whole.
No, I'm joking.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
shut up.
The A team.
Iron Man and Batman.
You
Yeah,
got
right.
B.A. Baracus got you out of there?
right,
You're going
right.
to cry.
No, nothing to do with that. Yeah, the crowd, the stadium noise.
DJ
Yeah.
and I do a lot of happy crying, watching
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Dad
Yeah.
used to he would be like, come into the office, and we'd watch Soldier Coming Home videos
Oh,
for 2 hours, like
Oh.
bawling.
bawling.
And I remember like my brother, like my boyfriend at the time, would like come over and be like, "What are you doing? Like, who does this?"
This is our crying family.
But it's
I
like
love
you
that.
just there. Yeah, it was like,
What are you teaching people over there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what it was. This is why I had them watch, okay? And I wanted them to understand that if you watch those Soldiers Coming Home videos, and I challenge anyone to find one that doesn't do
oh
this,
God, they're
okay? The children, when they see that parent, whether it's their mom or their dad who's coming back from combat, for the first time, and sometimes it's been a year, sometimes it's only been 6 or 8 months, and sometimes it's been 2 years. When the child sees the parent and they embrace, every single child immediately flushes at like a volcano of emotion and crying that they no longer are caring that their parent may never come home again, that it's real and they're there. And the reason I watched that was to watch the human condition of how every single child in every video I've ever seen, there's a flood, it's a shock first, and then the pouring, because they no longer are carrying that horrible, horrible trauma that dad or mom may never be coming home again. That is why I always liked watching those and then feeling that emotion. It was so intense.
I have a question for you three, as being older than me. What? I know we've all had like different experiences with family and stuff like that, but like what, when it comes to emotions and when it comes to expressing emotions, like I think that if you're on social media or whatever, like you see a lot nowadays of like gentle parenting. I don't know if you guys have like heard that term.
I haven't.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so gentle parenting is basically this idea of like getting away from the idea of, I don't always agree with it, but like saying no, like consequences, stuff like that. Like it's coming from a place of like meeting them where they're at and understanding that like they don't have the skills and they don't have the vocabulary to like explain what's happening. And my sister does a great job with it. Like, you know, she still has discipline and stuff like that, but like I asked her, I was like, how do you not get mad when they're like screaming or they're throwing a tantrum? Like, how do you not like just snap? And she's like, because like they're mad their toy broke, and that's the biggest thing in their life right now, you know? And like, I don't know, like kind of my question basically is like, do you think that, you know, moving forward as like a future, is it important to be like going on this path of like expressing emotions, having people express their feelings and stuff like that? Or should it be like more you're not holding it in necessarily, but you're keeping it to yourself, or you're keeping it to your close people around you? Like, I don't know, because you guys all grew up in a different time than I did. And yeah.
Well, I guess I can just speak for myself. First, you say gentle parenting. Like,
Yeah.
what makes that out? That you don't get yelled at by your parents?
Yeah,
Or-
I don't know. I've been seeing it like all online and everything, and it's basically like, yeah, you like don't get yelled at, you don't like really get punished. Like there's
Okay.
there's an extreme though. Like, you know,
Yeah.
there's gentle parenting that are like, yeah, their kids are walking all over them, but then there's like a gentle parenting where it's like, no, you're trying to understand them as like a
Well,
human being.
So what if they went into a grocery store, example, and started grabbing the cereal boxes and throwing them on the aisles?
Right.
Yeah.
Because they were mad that they didn't get that cereal last time.
Well, that's the thing is like,
Then how do you discipline that
Well, you
in the
have-
moment?
Well-
no, you have some parents that aren't disciplining it.
Oh yeah, then I
Sure.
totally disagree
You
with
should
that.
join in and, as a parent,
Well,
throw the boxes
yeah, no.
to support your child.
What I'm saying is like, are you guys concerned for like even the generation like below me, if that is
Oh, 100%.
kind of
Yep.
going on right now? And what is the concern? Like, do you think that kids are like, to me, like, I think it's going to cause a sense of like entitlement, and I think it's going to cause a sense of like just not understanding social cues
Yes.
or anything like that.
Can I speak from
Yeah.
just like my upbringing? I know if I was gentle parented, I would have been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
Because I guess I consider myself smart to a certain point. I would push every button. I would try out every boundary there is.
Intentional? You knew you were doing it?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I did too.
you're conniving.
Yeah, and you're smart enough, you know, mom says no, obviously go to debt.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, every
Yeah, I did
kid
that
does
too.
that, but
Yeah.
if my parents, they let me get away with some things. I know they were watching me, so it was not like, well, let her do whatever she wants. Sometimes I did things and then they just showed up, even though they said it's okay. I was like, oh, I see. You're watching
Yeah, the
me.
catastrophe, if that did
So-
happen for the generation below, the catastrophe is only temporary though, because society will correct it. The other people will correct it, meaning law enforcement, meaning you don't just get to behave that way. Now you're in handcuffs and you're going to jail.
Well, you're saying it's a setup for a failure, which I might agree with to a certain
Yes.
point.
Yeah, I just
Yes.
going just kind of what this podcast is based on, like generation and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then like the topic of like difficult times. Like, what are you guys worried about with, let's say, my generation, with how we handle things?
I think you're softer than older generations.
Yeah.
I have not. Okay, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, obviously, I'm German. In
Yeah.
Germany, things are a little different. Everyone is a little harder shell, kind of figuring things out with themselves. If you are too emotional, it gets looked at a certain way. So,
As weakness.
but at the same time, as long as you have a good, you know, if it's your family group or your friends group, as long as you have people you can conversate with and talk about troubles outside of whatever, just running around being like, I'm freaking out, but being like, okay, I have my shit together here, but I can go to a friend and be like, okay, yesterday that really freaked me out.
Mhm.
I was not doing so well. Can we talk about this? It's kind of the therapy in a friend circle.
So you guys
But-
put on a facade in front of others.
Not facade. It's just, I mean, I
You have your outlet. Like,
just have so many friends around me these days in America that are younger than me that struggle with anxiety and like just things that I have never heard about before. I mean, not that I have never been anxious or never felt anxiety, but I need to take care of myself in the situation so I can have that come over me. That was always where I came from as a German. You can feel that way, but you're in school, don't have a mental breakdown. You can go home, talk to your parents about it. You know, you can ask for therapy, you can go to your friends. But I feel like now it's kind of everywhere and it's open and it happens when it happens. So there is, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I just notice more of that disturbance in people in every situation. If it's the grocery store or a car or a friends group or a party, people have mental breakdowns all like more or all the, compared to Germany.
Could that be
100% more.
could that be that what I've noticed in the schools, especially when they were raised, because I was very involved without them really knowing, I was very involved in what they're being taught, what's happening, dealt with some of their teachers. What I learned was they've taken the individuality out of kids, and it's now group thought. And if you don't go along with this, then you're not part of all of us. And so a lot of kids get confused saying, well, that just doesn't make sense. But if I argue that, she told her teacher in high school that her paycheck comes from the taxpayers. The teacher said that the government pays her. My daughter came home and said, Dad, my teacher honestly believes that she gets a check from the government, that it doesn't come from tax dollars. She argued me in class. I kept telling her, you're wrong. And Jordan stood up to her. That confusion just right there when she knew the truth, that there's not some magical government somewhere handing out checks, that it comes from us that pay for teachers, from the taxpayer. Jordan knew that.
I'm not saying we don't argue. We do argue. That's a different thing. I'm poking more towards the emotional, disturbed.
No, I get what you're saying. Like, people feel like they're allowed to have a freaking mental explosion in a Walmart. You know, you see it online all the time.
Like tantrum.
I would never allow it to happen.
I 100%. I get what you're getting at, and that's why I brought up the gentle parenting thing of I think that is going to be a consequence. Is you have to learn time and place, like what you said, you can't have a mental breakdown at school, but you can do it when you get home, and I don't necessarily know if that's healthy or that's unhealthy, whatever, who knows. But I think the time and the place is so important. And you even Karens, that is a mental outbreak, or not a mental, a breakdown.
Yeah.
And that, they're in their 40s and their 50s.
And is that to get attention, do you think?
I don't know what it is. I
think it's to scream really loud to get attention.
I think that I think it's a sense, I think it's an entitlement. I think it's an arrogance,
narcissism.
Maybe. I don't think it's narcissism, to be honest, because I don't know what it is.
Like a child.
Yeah, I don't think it's narcissism.
Kids don't really.
Yeah.
I feel like they're just more.
That's what I'm saying is it's not just my age group. It's everyone. It's 80-year-olds, that are freaking out over something. And it's what has changed to think that that's okay? Yeah.
Call on me. Call on
DJ.
me.
Go ahead, sir. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. So I kind of look at this as an internal versus external balance, right? First of all, we when you're in this country, America, you are living in a bubble way more than you ever realize, right? And if you've never traveled outside of that bubble, there's no perspective, right? You're living in this narrow band of emotions, and anything that happens outside of it is the biggest feeling you've ever felt, right? But I definitely think that the outside world is ready and willing to destroy you. And maybe this is my pessimistic view, but I've been through a lot of things that I never thought I would go through, right? So
we're talking about gentle parenting.
You said internal and external and
and the difference, and what would you do with that? Because I do agree, by the way, with gentle parenting. I agree with, I wasn't very good at it when they were growing up. I had to learn through other things I went to. But to be able to find out from your kid what's happening inside them without just immediately getting angry is really hard to do in the heat of that moment. So I agree with a part of that we do need to say, okay, what's going on? What are you feeling? Like, what's really bothering you right now? Start there, but you still have to discipline with love. You have to. Otherwise, the child has no direction.
Yeah.
And they'll do it to everyone in their life and then wonder why no one likes them and they don't have any friends.
So it seems more like gentle parenting is something to do with soft power, right? Because you can be a leader with soft power and be followed and respected and listened to versus just, normal hard power.
But doesn't that depend on the child too and the personality?
Well, yeah,
100%.
it's back to everything's relative. It's relative to what is the outside environment that you're setting them up for, and then what is the tolerance that this child has. Because even between all the dogs I've ever had, you look at our one boy dog, Vinny, and he flinches, and you look at the girl dog, Ellie, and you could go poke her with a hot poker, and it wouldn't even get the reaction you got from just looking at Vinny, right? So it's just really weighing who you are, who they are, what are you preparing them for? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what we really want from this podcast, what we're really trying to get out there to everyone is be open-minded to everyone and listen to what they feel as well. Both you young people, listen to your elders, and you elders, listen to the young people. Listen to each generation and what they're experiencing and try to come to an understanding so at least you know what's going through their heads. Otherwise, we're always going to segregate one another's through generation. We're always going to say that ours was the best and the next one sucks. And we don't want to do that. We want everyone to be able to grow together. We're all humans. We all are going to be born and we're all going to die. And so that there's none of us that we all bleed the same. So we need to really reach out and try to help one another. And I think that this podcast will help do that.
Yeah.
I truly believe that.
And be honest.
Yeah.
Just be honest.
And be authentic and vulnerable.
Yes.
It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay to be vulnerable. It's okay.
And that's why everyone can expect us just to continue saying whatever we feel like saying in that moment. We're going to probably, fortunately, cross a lot of, politically correct boundaries all over the place. But we all know we're different, even within this room. But we're fine with that. We're just trying to paint one picture together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Thank you. Thanks, Jordan, for being here with us. I'm glad you're one of our hosts, and Ozia and DJ. This is awesome.
Topics out of bounds, 3 generations deep, we're breaking new ground.